Hello, fiber friends. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 9. I am so purple today, and I love it. So before we get into any of the blessings or anything else, I have to show you my finished object because I'm wearing it. Isn't it cute? I crocheted this little lace, and last night it's just a long running stitch. I made the stitches on the top, like I went over one strand of yarn because it's mercerized crochet cotton, so it's hard to get a needle up through it. So like where there was a strand of cotton, I just went up and over that individual strand. But then on the back, I took like real long bites on the back because I was like, if I need to take it off, I can just clip, and it's gonna come right off. And I love it. I never want it to come off. I'm gonna go back over it with fabric glue. I'm joking. I wouldn't do that. Could I do that? I wouldn't test it on this shirt. I wouldn't do that. Anyway, I love it so much. So when I got up this morning and I was getting dressed, because this one a lot of them I do the night before. You can tell by my window. My window will always tell on me because you'll see if there's light back there. But anyway, I got up and I put it on and I looked in the mirror and I was like, I love this. I want to wear it all the time. I'll probably wash it because I don't want to smell, but if I could, I would. I have some pieces of actual antique lace, and it's something like when I think of lace, oftentimes I think of like the very fine, like bobbin lace. Crochet lace absolutely counts as lace that you can put on a garment. You don't have to do the whole thing as a shawl or a whole thing as, like open kind of lace work. You can do lace details. I mean, obviously I've done this before. I guess I just haven't done it on an already made shirt where I added the details. Have I? I've talked about it a lot. I don't know. I can't remember now. If I did, it maybe isn't something I wear regularly, or maybe it's not in my wardrobe anymore. But like on a shawl, you knit a shawl and then you crochet lace around the edge, like finishing touches, stuff like that. Sure, I've done that. Everyone who's, knit beyond the beginner scarf probably has done that. But attaching it to things that are already made. So there's this thing where you choose 3 words to describe your style, your personal style. And those 3 words, when you shop or make garments for yourself, you're supposed to try to get all 3, but at least get 2 if you can. 1 if you're in a bind, I guess. But my 3 words are handmade, natural, and whimsical. And sometimes I struggle with natural because, yes, this is natural cotton, but cotton is not great for a lot of environmental reasons. Acrylic is not great for a lot of environmental reasons. Some wool is not, you know what I mean? Like, you can chase that rabbit hole forever. So I try to think, okay, well, at least if I take it through its life cycle, it will biodegrade, it's not gonna clog up a river somewhere in Africa because it gets sent over there to be disposed of, or the ocean, etc. Right? So I try to keep that in mind for natural. And then for whimsical, that has to fit me. That has a lot of broad options. It has to be whimsical to me. And then handmade, because I wish I could just sit down and hand make my entire wardrobe. But I don't really have time for that, for the entire thing. I do what I can. And of course it adds up because when you hand make your clothes, you don't turn them over as quickly. But at least if it's not handmade, I thrift it. But then what do I do if I have a piece that maybe it's natural? I thrifted it, but it's not whimsical. Oh my gosh, I add lace and now it's whimsical. I love this shirt. This shirt's a lot of fun to me. All right, if you have considered your personal style, not stuff, and I want to be clear here because I've been through tough times where my only options have been very few clothes that I was able to thrift, right? And I had to take what was in my size because sometimes in your size range, there's not a lot of affordable options. So not describing the wardrobe you have, because that might not be the wardrobe that would be your ideal if there were no limitations, right? If you had an unlimited budget and if everything you tried on fit, wow, wouldn't that be amazing? That would be incredible. Anyway, so take those types of obstacles aside. We're just examining you as your personal style in an ideal world. What would your 3 words be? So I have handmade, natural, and whimsical. And I'd love to know what your words are. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the blessing. I'm holding my microphone today because I didn't want to clip it on my shirt and get like a weird wrinkle or bump or something. You'll just have to bear with me. I think it gets better audio when I do it this way. I don't know. Maybe. I always try and level the audio anyway. I know some of you don't always love the music, but sometimes I really enjoy finding the music. So we'll do some spinning wheel sounds with and without music. And sometimes, like there's family things going on that I can't help. Like timing wise, I'm spinning while my family's cooking. And you don't want those sounds. So then you're just going to get music with no spinning wheel sounds. Or my microphone dies. All right, let's see. We have... Oh, cute. Number 9, day 9. May the yarn you spin hold memories of stories worth telling. Yesterday we were talking about like putting like feeling into the things, like how, or not putting it in there, but it's just attached just by the nature of crafting during a time. That time gets associated with the thing you made. Several people commented, and I didn't want to put like names and things up because of the topic, but several people commented about how they had that experience like I shared, my experience where they were knitting something or crocheting something while they were, attending a funeral or with someone who was in their last days or other loss. And first of all, I want to say I'm so sorry for all of your loss. Like, it's a hard time of year to deal with loved ones that we wish were with us, and it's not possible, and it's hard. It is hard. So I guess my hope is that for those of you who have had that experience, that somehow that item you were creating that is attached to those memories and those feelings, I hope it can be part of your healing and working through your grief. But I also hope that generally when we have things attached, whether they're sad or devastating or happy or joyful that get attached with our items, that we can also have a good story to go with that. So I hope you have knit things that have good stories attached as well. I have a story attached to this. I was working on it last night on the couch and I heard something and I was like, so I ran to the back porch and I opened the door and I said, hoo, 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 hoo. So do any of you know which owl makes that call? Don't cheat. Let me know if you knew, because there are other owls that make different sounds, and this is going to be really weird, maybe cringy, I don't know, but I think it's fun. So I looked up to double check. I know what owl makes that sound. I love owls. When I was little, it was a thing. We would do like bird call sounds and look at bird books and stuff like that. And it was just funny way to like make weird noise. And I enjoy making weird noise. So I looked up a couple birds to make sure. And I was like, what kinds of owls live in our area? So we have snowy owls, which they sound like absolute gremlins. They're like, meh. Meh, meh. and then there's barn owls, and barn owls sound like ah. they just scream. They're like ah, except high pitched. So this one is like the classic iconic hoo hoo, right? Hoo hoo hoo, hoo hoo. Our owl is up in those trees somewhere. There he is. We have great horned owls. And I'm not exactly sure which tree they're in, but I know which probably couple trees they're in. But their hoots can travel a long way. Great horned owls they're so cool. And I love owls. I always have. My grandmother loved owls. Like it's been a thing. And I inherited some of her owl collection. Um, which before she passed, she sold most of it and donated the money from her collection to a charity at her living facility, which I thought was really cool. And I got to I got to pick out like, I don't know, it was two or three maybe that were really special that I wanted to keep. And I have the rug hooking owl piece that she did. You've probably seen that owl in my other videos from time to time because it's usually in the background, but she dyed that wool and she hooked that and then framed it and stuff. I took him down. He's having a little break. I'm going to dust him and clean him and use an air compressor. People ask, like, how do you clean stuff like that? It's hard to clean stuff like that. So I don't like, you can do like the vacuum, the hose part of the vacuum, and you can kind of like run it along. I don't love that. That's just not my favorite way to do it. But if you have compressed air, which Mark has plenty of that capability in the garage, he literally has an air compressor out there. You can like blow the dust off of it, do it outside, and that's how I like to clean those types of pieces. So, I don't know if anyone needed to know that, but if you did, I hope it's useful. I do have a finished object. Here it is. I finished my Tanka Ch'uru band that I started in Peru. That's a cool picture. I love those like distance perspective types of pictures. Anyway, there's my Tanka Ch'uru. You can see where there's a little selvage consistency issue right there. And then down to the end. Right here towards the end, you can tell this is where I put more tension on, and this is where I had less tension. And so it's thicker and thinner here. And then I got to here, and it was like not enough room to do the heddles. I probably could have picked at it and gotten maybe another X or O out of there. But it was frustrating at this point, and I was starting to skip. There was one heddle that was a little longer, and it was starting to not have enough room to raise up each time. So I stopped, and it's done. I need to finish it. How will I finish it? Well, I'll probably like steam press it with the iron gently, and then, yeah, like cut the ends to make the ends nice. Maybe fold them over. I don't know. But I like it. I don't know what I'll use it for. I'll probably use it to tie stuff to a distaff maybe. It's a good size for that. And yeah, yay for getting things done. What else is in my finish it basket? See this basket? It's full of stuff I want to get finished before the new year. So I think my next thing is this. Oh no, don't peek at those stockings. Oh dear, did I finish them soon enough for Mark to put his stocking up this year? I don't know. I guess I'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, so I quilted this pillow. It goes this way. I just haven't finished quilting it, you know? It's cute. I like it. It's, is it Ruby Star? I don't think it's Favorite Flowers. I know the collection is Favorite Flowers, but I don't remember which fabric company it is. It might be Ruby Star. Anyway, it's cute. I like it. I want to get it done because I want to put it on the couch for springtime because it's got spring colors and it's cheerful and it makes me happy. Picking which squares to go in which order was like an absolute puzzle because you don't want to have the same colors too close to each other because then it kind of creates a larger field of that color, and so then it can draw your eye in weird ways. Like you had to spread out the black or the darker colors far enough from each other. Like imagine having all the black colors like right here, like every square with black, like put it in a clump. That wouldn't work. And then you've got ones that are like like smaller motifs, and then there's ones with like larger flowers or smaller flowers, and so you want to mix those up. You've got ones that are like more of a orderly repeating pattern, like it could be wallpaper. And then you've got ones that, because of the size of the square, you know, it's like it's like only part of a flower, because the flower, like this one here, is so big. It was fun putting those in order, and I like it, and I need to just go over the top of it. So I already did quilt it. I did it on my 1940s rotary white sewing machine up in the living room. It didn't work out. I had to unpick the whole thing. So that one does have quilt for footing. That one does have a foot for quilting, but the tension was a big issue, and it was clumping on the bottom. I adjusted the tension every which way. The machine is in good order. But because it's an old machine, it just takes a lot of manual fussing, more so than the newer machines that you can kind of like turn a dial, turn a switch, and then it's like, okay, now we're good. I think I am going to have to get out my newer machine, probably my Singer Curvy. It's the machine I didn't learn on that one. I learned on my mom's, but it's not my favorite. After using those old machines that are made of metal, the plastic new machines just don't feel the same to me. It's fine, it'll get the job done, but there's something about, there's like a lack of sturdiness to it that makes me feel like even if you look at the stitches, no one would look and say, oh, that's a terrible job, or anything like that. Like, it's fine and it works, but having used the other ones, it feels like there's more wiggle in it without actually being wiggly. I have no idea if this makes sense. If you use sewing machines and you have that comparison from new machines to old machines, let me know. Also, I think there's something about, like, I have one that's kind of that in between, because it can zigzag, but it has like the mechanical cams. And it's metal. It's what is that one? It's a Kenmore. I have that one, but we found that one in the garbage dump and fixed it up, and it only has the like regular foot. I don't have a way to do quilting on that one. I'm keeping my eye out. I know there's parts out there for it somewhere. I'm gonna get this quilted. I'll get it finished, and I'll have a pillow. Maybe I'll show you tomorrow. Hopefully. So yeah, here's the back. Here's the binding. Well, I guess I won't be showing you tomorrow because I will be hand stitching the binding, and I've got some family stuff to do this evening. But maybe I can at least quilt the top of it. This will probably be a more than one day kind of project. Maybe I can get the back sewn on it, and then I can, do the hand stitch the binding. Let's get to our advent boxes. I feel like this is probably going to be a long video, and I feel like for the advent boxes, I will have to clip this to my shirt somewhere. We'll figure it out. Well, friends, I was recording, everything was great, and then I got that dreaded who's calling me? Oh, look, it's the high school phone call. Yeah, I had to go bring someone home. They'll be okay. It's not contagious. And then I went to the store, and so you're probably going to be watching this one later. I try to upload it and have it done by 9 in the morning so people can have like expected Vlogmas days, but today, I don't know. I'll probably be lucky if it's up by 1 p.m. We'll see what happens, I guess. Future editing me will know. By the time you're watching this, we will know. But we do have some advent boxes to open and some spinning to do. So let's do it. We are on day 9, and we're going to start with Twice Sheared Sheep, this beautiful, beautiful advent box. And disclaimer, both of these companies sent me the boxes, and there are, what's it called? Links. See, now I'm all frazzled. There's links in the description if you're interested. Okay, let's see. What day is today? Today is day 9. And does it feel squishy? The cardboard bounces back as if there's some yarn inside. Let's find out. Ooh. Look at this color. Color Story, DK. This is a beautiful, beautiful color. Look at that. This is pretty. The label's popping off. It's called Tide Pool. Pretty. So maybe the white is meant to stay white and it goes in some kind of color work. That could be a thing. I'm going to put this in here with the white and we will see what comes up. What's next? All right, let's take a look at what we have in Hedgehog Fibres. I did get, oh, and I wanted to mention, people were concerned that I had wool in the fireplace. It's not in the fireplace. Here, look. It's just baskets of wool, and I just set it on the hearth. So it's just right there on the hearth. It's fine. No one's trying to burn any wool. It's okay. But I appreciate your concern. If I lean this way, you can see I did get all of that fiery, beautiful orange spun. So I'm ready for whatever comes next. And I did get this one finished. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but this bobbin has 3 spins on it and that bobbin has 1. So we have 4 down, which means there were 12 total. So we should have 8 left, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. I can do math. Oh my gosh. All right. We're going to open day 5 today and see what we have. I have been saying that there's 2 ounces in these. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be 2 ounces or 1.5 ounces. I measured some of them and it kind of, it depends on the humidity and stuff when you weigh it. And it's kind of hard to pull off an exact amount unless you're like, you know what I mean? Like pulling off bits and adding it until you hit that mark. But I will say none of these have been less than an ounce. So we'll stick with that. All right, what do we have? Ooh, it kind of coordinates with the yarn we just opened. Oh wait, what's the, ooh, okay, this is 67% merino and 33% alpaca. What do we think, friends? That is lovely. Should I keep adding to the bobbin? I think at this point I'm committed. The whole spin is just going to go on the matchless. And I think I will end up with 4 bobbins with 3 spins on each bobbin. We're probably at the point where I need to take notes about which color is where because I'm going to forget. But ultimately, my plan is to chain ply, and so the colors won't matter. And then as I chain ply, I'll see where the color changes all of a sudden. Like this is gonna be so obvious. It's gonna go blue-green and suddenly orange. So I'll be able to, turn them into mini skeins at that point. Or leave them and just, knit with the whole thing in a direction. That can be fun too. All right, I did have a question. I don't remember if I screenshotted it. Oh no, my friend. I'm sorry, I try to give credit where I can. Let's see. I was in the comments looking for it, and I have to say that we have a few answers to a few questions, and so I'm just going to go through those real quick. One is the wolf in sheep's clothing. So several people reminded me that it comes from the Bible. It's Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. I think whether you are a Christian or not, that is good advice because you should always be careful of wolves. People with bad intentions who look like they're there to help or benefit or whatever. Yeah. So many of you liked the idea of taking little nibbles on projects rather than trying to do a whole thing at once. And someone brought up a really great point. They said, Oh dear. I'm never gonna find it. There's so many comments. I think there were several people who mentioned that they don't do the worst big project that you don't want to do at all first because it just doesn't work with their brain. I agree. Like, if you need that charge of good feelings and dopamine to get through a bunch of stuff, and your executive function is not at full strength, and then you've got to dive into the worst thing ever, who wants to do that? And so then some people mention that then they're always trying to do the worst thing ever. They don't finish that and they never get to the good fun stuff. I agree. Like, maybe do a fun project to get yourself going and get that like momentum and that good feeling of accomplishing something, and then work on the hard stuff. I guess the point is we're all different. We should do what works for us individually as individuals. But I still stand by the taking little nibbles and then you'll get it done philosophy that I made up yesterday. It's not a philosophy, it's an observation. It's an observation. Okay, what else did we have? Oh, someone thought that was the bag of flocks. That is the Icelandic fleece that I was working on. That's a project that's gonna start next year, and I say that every year. I don't know what's holding me back from getting that done. Maybe that is my frog. Someone was asking which fiber is my thing I don't want to eat. In terms of sheep's wool, honestly, I've never found one that I didn't like. It's just that I had to understand the purpose that wool is intended for rather than trying to fit the wool into the purpose I want it to be for. So if I'm spinning herdwick, I need to do that with rugs in mind. If I'm spinning herdwick and I have soft, fluffy sweaters in mind, I will be disappointed. That's just not what herdwick is for. So, for example, if I have, some really beautiful hand-combed merino, I should say hand-flicked. It's rarely long enough to truly comb, but let's say hand-flicked merino locks, right? And then I make socks out of that. I can wear them once and then get out the darning egg. So, I like all wool. I haven't found a wool that was disappointing to me. I just need to understand what it's meant to be and align it with that. And let's see. Several people gave me recipes for eggnog. I might try one. And if I do, I need to do it right away because that is something that needs to sit for a little bit. It doesn't have to, but I've heard that it's better if it does. And then let's see. Several people want me to talk about Pantone Color of the Year. I am doing some research for that. I might do an essay. We will see. That was Resource Dragon who asked about what fibers I really don't like spinning. So let me finish up on that. If we're not talking about wool, the fiber I absolutely hate is it's called NGO, and it's made from corn. And I hate it so much. It makes me feel like I have itches in my elbows. And if I scratch my elbow, the itch is somewhere else in my body and I can never get to it. It squeaks. It feels terrible. I hate it so much. It's awful. It's really bad. If I ever had a garment where I had to wear that, that would be the equivalent of my like hair shirt. You know how people used to like self-flagellate and they'd wear hair shirts because it was so uncomfortable. They'd be itchy all the time. That sounds terrible. Anyway, my version of that would be made of that corn fiber. Awful, awful stuff. It's worse than like I can spin rayon, okay, and I've spun acrylic, and it didn't do to me as badly as what the NGO fiber does to me, and I hate it. It's the one. It's the only one. All right, I think that was everything I was going to answer. Oh, and then there's one more I was going to answer when I got spinning, which is right now. So let's talk about it. Someone said that they struggle with spinning from the fold, and they wanted to know if I had any tips for spinning from the fold, like what I've been doing. So here's the thing about spinning from the fold, and here's something to watch out for if you're doing these specific types of luxury fibers that I am. I don't know if I have my example. Okay, so when you spin from the fold, you need to take the lock over your finger. If you're pinching it off like this, you're likely going to have more than one lock length in the fiber. So what you want to do is pinch it from the very edge of the comb top or roving, and then figure out, I'm going to take that little noodle off of there. Figure out what your actual staple length is. So I do that by pulling. See, if you're pulling from both ends and it won't come apart, that's how you know that you're holding on to the ends of the same fibers, because they won't draft apart, right? So this is how I know that this is how long the length of the fibers are in this particular, it looks like comb top. So then I can take and put that over my finger, and that means that all the stuff that's down here is also going to draft when I take it off the top. If I had more than a staple length, what's going to happen is that I'll have some fibers that are dangling down here that aren't touching the fibers up here. So as I draft across here, there's still going to be fibers down here that didn't get caught up in the twist. And so that's when people end up with a handful of fiber that they're like, how did it split like this? How do I have these clumps of fiber? Why isn't it working, right? So you have to make sure that the only thing you are sure of, and if you want, you can go to the very, very tippy tips and then just kind of do that until you're really sure you've got the staple length. I'm really sure this is the staple length. And then sometimes if you notice that you have a clump of much shorter fibers in your hand, that means that, like the similar blends I had before that had the cashmere and the camel, because camel's pretty short, those, and silk is longer. I had a little floof of camel left in my hand, but I know that that happens from the fold with that type of fiber, so I was holding it fairly loosely, and I was making sure that I was allowing it to catch up in the twist as I was spinning. For most of them, I only had a little bit of that fluff left over, and a lot of times I was able to take that fluff before I finished the rest of the lock on my finger, and I kind of just, you know, zhuzhed it up a little, and then I also just laid that over my finger and continued to make sure it did get incorporated. So those are 2 tips if you are spinning from the fold and having trouble. Those are the 2 things, staple length and also staple length. All right, let's do a little spinning. Well, fiber friends, wrapping up this wonderful Vlogmas. I think this one probably went long because I recorded in two different sessions. So I hope you enjoy. Yeah, I'll see you this afternoon, I guess, whenever this uploads. I have more projects to do. When I went to the store, I accidentally had a bottle of purple Rit jump off the shelf and absolutely fling itself into my cart. And I was like, well, friend, if you want to come with me that badly, who am I to say no? So we'll discuss that tomorrow. I will see you then. And until then, I'll say happy spinning and merry Vlogmas.